Hi guys, welcome back to the fermented world. Today we're going to be making something called a bochet. A bochet is caramelized honey as your main source of honey, and we're going to be adding some frozen cranberries that have been thawed out. We've got 2 packets of them, so that's 800 grams of cranberries. Maybe excessive, who knows. We may even try and make a half cut beverage out of them after as well, like we did with Viking's blood, which hopefully will be uploaded before this video, so then it will make sense. So what we need to do for a bochet is we need to basically cook the honey for around 30 to 40 minutes. Now this is going to mean continuously stirring for that length of time, or it will just turn into a massive big lump of basically glass. And I learned from my last bochet, I'm using my metal spoon because I accidentally melted a spoon last time. It was like, I swear this stuff's like molten lava once it starts going. That can go in there, is where that can go. So I've preheated some honey in some boiling water just to try and get it a little bit more mobile, because it's a bit pain in the ass wise to get out of the jars. These are the new Hilltop jars where you charged more and you get less, which I'm not happy about. So now I buy direct from them. These are bought from Tesco's. So these are 680, and we're going to be doing 2 of these, so I'm not quite sure why I've put the 3rd jar in. Who knows? Anyway, let's get some of this honey in. It's going to take a couple of minutes to get in there, and we will add a slight amount of hot water as well, just to rinse out the thing. So as you can see, that literally pours out like water, which is very satisfying. Normally that would have taken a lot longer, but like I say, we've heated it up in some boiling water so that we can pour it out easier. Doesn't harm the honey, doesn't change the sugar content or anything. All it does is heats it up, makes it more workable, let's say. And then we need a bit of hot water from the kettle, so I shall put that on and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so we've boiled the kettle. We're now going to rinse out the jars. I didn't use the water that I'd used to warm the jars up, simply because it's these jars have been resting on the side and it's not exactly sanitary. Watch out, because hot water and glass aren't best friends. Quite a good conductor, and you don't want to burn yourself, and I don't want anybody burnt, not on my watch. And then we're going to pop that into this one, and the glass is getting very hot, and it just helps. As you can see, it really helps. You can do this with your plastic containers as well. It just really helps get the last bits of honey out of there. But yeah, just be careful, because it does sort of give a bit of pressure. You want to make sure you're getting rid of that, especially when using the glass. We don't want any boom booms. So in that goes, and we're going to mix that together whilst bringing it up to the boil. Wherever my sterilised metal spoon is. First of all, I'm going to mix that water and the honey together, like so. Make it all nice and the same, mixed in. And then the next step is to put on the heat, and we're going to heat this up until it's pretty much boiling. Once it's at the boiling point, we're just going to keep on stirring it and stirring it and stirring it 4. The last one I did was 30 minutes. I think that was good enough. But this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to let it char slightly, and then I'm going to mix it in after it's charred, after turning the heat off, which is a method I've learned from a lady who runs a meadery, who I bought mead of hers, and she was actually happy to explain to me how they got the depth of colour into their mead, which some people wouldn't share. So big up yourself, apothecary meadery. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Just excuse my dirty hob, and we shall crush down the cranberries a little bit more. I've squeezed them. They're thawed out. I have squeezed them. I don't have any idea how this is going to taste. It just sprung in my head and the idea was hatched. I'm also going to be using a small amount of brown sugar, demerera, unrefined demerera sugar. That's a 500 gram bag, so I'd probably put about 100 grams in, I guess. I don't know. But we'll do that later on when we're adding water to this caramelized honey that we'll have going on shortly. So gas on, and we'll be back once it is heated up and bubbling. So this is the colour of it before it started to be heated up, and I'll show you again shortly once it's got darker. So it's starting now to bubble quite a lot. This is the point where we want to keep on stirring it, gently moving it around all the time. Now I can feel straight away it's solidifying on the bottom. We do not want this to boil over, because if it does, that is just going to be bad. So we're just going to continuously stir for, yep, you got it right, 30 minutes, until this has gone a lot darker, giving us a much nicer colour and a caramel flavour. As you can see, it is now changed colour. It's getting a lot darker. I've not managed to get it to crystallise yet, or to char on the bottom, as they said. I'm not sure my pan's big enough for this, to be fair, to be able to get it to char. So I'll do what I was doing last time, and I'll leave it a couple of times in between, because as you can see, it foams up, and then you have to bring it back down so that you can carry on, which is why you've got to be here continuously. And control your heat, because it soon rises back up. So we've got about another 16 minutes, and then we're going to let this cool. You can even add your cold water to it to make it chill. Just be mindful of this stuff being very, very hot, so you really want to be careful, as hot and cold together causes steam. So be careful if you do add your water. We'll be back in about 16 minutes. And as you can even see it from there now, the honey has changed colour dramatically. We've now got a very, very, very dark brown honey in comparison to what we did have. And this is because it's caramelized. It's charring as it goes, ever so slightly. Now, it's been so long since I did the last Bochet. It was one of the first ones I did, probably my third mead I brewed, because I just jump in the deep end. I don't pussyfoot about, you know, throw myself into things and crack on with it. So this one's going to turn out nicer. I mean, obviously I need to do a Bochet on its own because the other one I ended up adding loads of oak to, and I did add too much oak actually, which was a lesson learnt. I put a whole 50 gram, is it 50 gram? 50 gram bag of oak into a gallon batch, which was excessive to say the least. But it turned out a nice beverage, really. Wasn't too bad. And even more caramel colours coming through. The reason why you have to keep stirring it is because these bubbles, they will literally just overflow this. I wasn't paying attention a second ago, and it did nearly overflow. And all this is just that honey that we put in to begin with. Nothing else added, apart from that tiny bit of water to get the residue out. But it's definitely changed its colour. I can almost smell burning, but I'm not sure whether that's coming from something underneath there. But we've got another 6 minutes, but I'm not going to let it go for that last 6 minutes. I've turned the heat off now. We're going to try and get this to cool down. It looks very agitated and very foamy. So this is going to take a while to cool down, but cool down it must. So possibly move it off the hot ring that it's just been on. That might help, and we'll get this down to manageable. Lovely jubbly. It certainly looks different to what it did. Look at that now. It's a very, very dark brown. Looks nice. Please excuse the mess as well. I've got crap everywhere. But that's life. Life of a working kitchen. Right, that's subsiding now, so I'm happy to leave that to cool down. Once that's cooled down, we'll add a bit of water, and we'll get the must started. Transfer it over to the pitcher over there, so that we can measure how much we've actually got as well. Some cat's going A1. You can taste it. Ah, crap. That's hurt. That really hurt. And it literally solidified on my finger. Let me see if I can mimic that on something. Shut up, cats. Got that there. It literally goes rock solid the second it comes out, which means I think we need to add the water now. I don't think we can wait for this to dissolve. Oh my god, it's literally gone brown. I didn't realise it'd go that dark. Didn't go that dark last time. Oh, my finger hurts. I'm gonna have to put that under some water. It's really, really dark. Let's see if I can. Look how dark that is. We might have overdone it. Okay, so we've got some water to add to this now to help dilute it down. Yeah, just be careful when adding water to hot things. This is absolutely solidifying now. Oh shit, that's not good. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. That's really not good. Let's see if we can mix that in. Get it all dissolved again. It created like a massive crust. Like, damn, son. Need to try and mix that back in. I'm too busy yakking trying to get a picture of it. Whew. So in with the water as we mix, I think that's the plan of action. Nearly lost it. Nearly went solid as a rock. And I can feel loads of it stuck to the pan. Woo! That was lucky. Right, I'm not going to tempt fate and put any more water in. Although we do want that little bit in there eventually. I'm going to let this sit for a minute or two and just hopefully let it dissolve. Anything else? Can you hear all that? Just stuck to the pan. Right, that's the time it should have been boiled for, but I think we've had enough. Bloody hell. I mean, it looks nice. I'm just hoping it tastes nice. That's the need, isn't it? Right, so ever so carefully, we're going to try and remove any of the caramelization off the bottom of the pan, because we want it in there, because it will eventually fizzle out. Look at that, look. Got a nice big clump of it there. Well, that's going in there. Crikey, it's like it's invincible. Okay, so then we're going to pour this into our thing as carefully as possible. Up high as well if you can. Get some oxygen in there. And we add 4 litres of water there, which will give us about 4.5 litres. Oh, that wasn't too bad actually. Got most of it out of it. There's still a bit on the side and that, but all in all, not too bad. How much do we have there? So we're not at the 4.5 yet, so we can actually add a little bit more water. Try and get any more extra residues off, because it's all sugar. I'd rather it be fermenting in my beverage rather than stuck in here. I'm not sure we'll get much off the sides, but we'll try. I mean, that's changed colour, so the water, we've got some more in there, and a little bit more, and then we're at the 4.5 mark. Not much though. And there we go. That's our 4.5 litres. So we're going to move over to the brewing area now, and we'll crack on over there. Okay, I've chilled that down to pitching temperature, as it was a bit too warm. So I'm going to let out that water because it's annoying me. It's dribbling. So yeah, it was a bit too warm, so we have added. Okay, now we're over the actual mark, because I've added some water, but it doesn't matter because we're fermenting in this anyway, because of the fruits that are going to be used for this. So we're going to add 100 grams of demerara sugar, just because. I don't know why, but I am, because I can. My mead, and I'll do what I want to. I just had the vision of it, having it in, so we're going to put some in. And it's going to go everywhere. So 100 grams of this, I reckon. In fact, we should probably take a hydrometer reading before we add anything. I think that's a good idea. Glad I thought of it. To see what start gravity we've got. So we are working with slightly less honey. So yeah, that's starting at the 80 mark. We want it to be at least 100. So we are going to add a bit of the demerara sugar. Fair trade, just so you know. So 100 grams. Stuff's like molten together. Ooh. There we go. 100.7. We'll say 100 because that was the goal. And we're going to mix that. Mix it good. While that is a mixing in, we might as well be putting our yeast nutrients in, which is always quite important as honey doesn't have a great deal of nutrients in. So we use yeast nutrients and it allows us to drink it quicker. So that was 1 teaspoon per gallon. That's a teaspoon measurement. And that is our nutrients. And now we mix both of those in and get some oxygen in there as well, which I'm going to use my plastic swizzle stick, because plastic on plastic is a bit better and this will oxygenate nicer instead of that big cumbersome thing. I mean, that's dark, that is, isn't it? That is dark as heck. Give that a good mix. I can still hear the crunchiness of the sugar in there. And we'll transfer this now into the fermenter that it's going to be going into, which it's not the best fermenter in the world, but it's one that I use when I'm using fruits, because fruits are a pain in the ass. They like to float to the top, and then when the bubbles are going to the top, it pushes all the fruit through your airlock if you're using a demijohn or something smaller like that. Make sure we get the last couple of bits of sugar in there, and we're going to mix again. This is completely my own recipe. I haven't taken this from anywhere. It's one that I'll share, of course. Now we take a hydrometer reading again after another swizzle. And see where we're at, because we might even add some more demerara sugar to it. Now, I don't know what the difference between demerara sugar is and white sugar. If anyone knows and they'd like to tell me, please leave a comment. I'll be very grateful. I like to know things. And where are we now? So that's only put it up to the 90. So yeah, I think we will add. Actually, do you know what? I'm just going to leave it because we've got fruit to put in and that will add something to it. So that says 90. Let's add the fruit. We'll see if the fruit makes any difference. Got 2 bags of cranberries. Each bag is 400 grams. I've pre-squeezed them after they've thawed out, so we're going to have them very juicy and ready to rock and roll. Now this flavour mix might not even work, but unless you try it, you don't know it. So let's give them one last squeeze before they go in, because we want them to be popped so that they can give us the juice, really. I did do as much as I could in the bag, but because the bag was sealed, it was, you know, just causing a bit of an air pocket. The ones in the middle couldn't be done, but we're good. So in there you go. Obviously you don't have to add the demerara sugar. You don't even need to use 2 bags, but if you want to brew the one that I'm brewing, then you will need to follow the ingredients, otherwise you'll just get a different mead. Just give it a last squeeze. Nice and juicy. And we've got some dried cherries for this to sit on once the fermentation's finished. Fermentation will take away any sugars that are fermentable in here. So in with them ones. Like so. Remove the bag. Give it a mix. Get some more oxygen in there. As we need the oxygen to start the fermentation, but then later on we don't want the oxygen because oxygen's bad once fermentation's underway. So let's take another hydrometer reading. Now normally there's a lot of sped up bits, but this one hasn't had many, apart from when the honey was cooking. Well, that's changed the colour straight away. It's giving it a much more red instead of a Black Death kind of feel. Okay, so it's not changed, still on the 90 mark, and we mix in, making sure that all the yeast is wet. Dry yeast is no good, it will not do anything. It looks good, and as I said, we'll have some dried berries to add to this once the fermentation's finished. And there you go, that's it. We've got our nutrients in, we've got our honey in. I am going to reseal this with some Vaseline to get a better seal, and that's it. Thanks for watching and see you soon.